All right, let's go ahead and start today's open discussion on various topics. Let's begin by reciting the prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll dive into a Q&A session. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, will defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone to another open discussion and various topics. Class 136. Today we will be picking up where we left off last time with our review of the Metaphysics 101 Class 2. So the Metaphysics 101 series or playlist. And we looked at the first 30 minutes of Class 1 a few open discussions ago. And the last open discussion, we looked at the first actual 2 minutes of Class 2. So again, as a reminder, if you go to our YouTube channel, click on playlists here, and then scroll down a bit to Metaphysics 101. You click on View Full Playlist, and we're currently reviewing Class 2. The Metaphysics 101 series talks about the mystic constitution of man's makeup. Today, I will use or include the original handout that was given in the class, or presentation notes that was used in that class. We'll follow along with that, along with the transcript, and I'll continue to add additional notes and information that have been made over the past few years, the past 10 years since those 101 classes were given, as well as add additional information and notes to help us better understand the information. So that's that. Oops, sorry. So I don't think we had any questions emailed to us. And I'll now open the floor for any questions or comments. I do have quite a bit of information queued up for us to review. And the last time, I'd say we're going to go a little bit deeper into the nadis and the chakra system. And so I pulled up quite a bit of notes from previous lectures that specifically dived into the nadis, as well as additional handouts and illustrations on the nadis. So I do have quite a bit to cover today. I don't know how far we will get in the transcript. Hopefully, we'll be able to cover quite a bit of ground. But if not, that's all right. We can hold the rest for another open discussion. Now, I also mentioned last time, since we're in this part of the lecture that we're going into, we already talked about the work of the soul and the spirit, and we're at the point where the Shakti power has been pushed down to Shumna, met its equilibrium point at the Muladhara chakra, and is revealed this aspect of Kundalini. So I wanted to include additional notes about Kundalini. But as I was preparing for this, I saw there's quite a bit of information on just the Nadi system alone. So I'll kind of touch on Kundalini briefly, but spend more time on the Nadic system and on the system of bodies encompassing the auric unit, or the full, or the aura. So I will jump around quite a bit today, but hopefully I'll keep it coherent so everyone can follow along. All right, so if there's no questions.
The handouts you have doing, you said you had original handouts?
Yes, the same handout you use in the presentation.
Yeah, show it to me so I can see it.
Okay. So it was 2 pages. This is page 1, the fall, the Shakti power, and the manifestation of the nadis. What you actually had on the screen was page 2, mystic makeup of man diagram.
Is that what I emailed you last week?
Yes. Yeah, this is what you had emailed me.
Yeah. In presenting the nadis, you say you're not going to talk too much about Kundalini, but you need to understand that the nadis come from within the bodies. We understand that the nadis come from 2 different sources. They come from the soul, as Shushuna, or it was referred to as a body of Shakti controlled by the soul within the Shushuna, which is a nadi, which is 7 nadis tied together, really. And then it also comes from, because that forms Kundalini, and it also comes from Kundalini when it's split. And the part that we are conscious of is the part that comes from Kundalini, because Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness. So it makes it easier I think it makes it easier for people to understand when you point those point of connections out.
Okay.
And it's kept active by the auric body.
Okay. If there's any. All right, so if there's no questions. So I'm going to go back and read from the first page of the notes that was given during the Metaphysics 101 presentation. It was a collection of, it was a couple of handouts that were given to us when we attended the series, the lecture, the classes. And this was one of the pages that was given to us, and both pages, page 1 and 2 were given to us then. But in the lecture, it picks up from using this page 2. And so I'll put them side by side so we can see as we follow along with the transcript, you'll understand as Nimai is going down the vehicles of expression of the soul, for example, and in his conversation, his discussion. So the fall of Shakti power, the manifestation of the nadis. Right. So at number 1 here, it's pointing to the crown chakra, and this red line going down the middle represents both Sushumna and the movement of the Shakti power as it falls down from the crown chakra to the base chakra through the Brahmic line of force called Sushumna. And then number 2, once Shakti power falls down to the base chakra, it's down here, it goes into a dormant state by moving into a 3.5 energy configuration called Kundalini that blocks the passageway to Sushumna. This places the Shakti power into a flux state that brings about a division of this power. And so when we go back to the transcript, this is where we're picking up really at step 2, after the Shakti power has fallen down to the base, the Muladhara chakra. Number 3, the division of the Shakti power brings about the manifestation of the Pingala and Ida flow of Shakti. And see here, Ida is going off to left and right, Pingala to the Ida to the left, sorry, and Pingala to the right. The vital energy flow is the Pingala flow, which is a dynamic, positive aspect of Shakti. The passive energy flow is the Ida flow, which is a mental, passive, negative aspect of Shakti power. The power of Shakti finds its level of equilibrium after falling or manifesting itself from the Shiva power. So we're taught that when the Shakti power falls and goes to the base of the spine, it goes into a dormant state where it reveals the Shiva, and that's what's being described here. This equilibrium brings self-consciousness to man. All right, step 4. The Pingala, positive, and Ida, negative flow of energy, moves from the base chakra upwards, seeking to unite as one energy. Since the passageway to Sushumna is closed or blocked by the 3.5 energy configuration called Kundalini, the Pingala and Ida moves towards every chakra, crisscrossing through each one of the chakras along the spine, trying to enter Sushumna. And that's this illustration here where you have the blue Ida coming up here, and then the right Pingala coming up here. Enter the sex chakra, crisscrosses. And then now on the other side, you have the Ida coming up on this side, and then exits, as it exits, crisscrosses, then exits the sex chakra, moving up again, and then emerges at the solar plexus. I remember we were taught that every time there is an intersection of these energies, there's a level of consciousness is formed. So as it's moving, as the Idas intersect and moving, they're making their way up Sushumna, going in and out of the realms of consciousness or the chakras. Where did I stop here? The Pingala and Ida moves towards every chakra, crisscross, terminating its forward movement at the Christ chakra. So you see here, that's where the blue and red lines terminate at the Christ chakra. The equilibrium point of the Pingala and Ida flow of energy that manifests consciousness on the gross physical level. And number 5, the Christ chakra is where the spinal column is terminated. It's also where the 3 nadic energy flows called Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna nadis terminates and merge back as one consciousness. It's the second equilibrium level along the spinal column. The Bindu energy expressed here is the highest level of static Shakti power being expressed along the spinal column. Okay. Just switch for a second. So now I want to switch to the part of the notes that were given during a lecture on Tantra Yoga, the ancient science behind chakra system and the Kundalini rise. And I want to do that because it gives, even though briefly, quite a bit of information behind Kundalini, Nada, the chakra system, and the bodies. And I felt that this would help us as we go back into the transcript from the 101 course, and also going along with what Dima was talking about earlier before we started today's session. So this was from a class given back in December of 2010. And you can actually find, oh, sorry, it still says pause. So you should be able to see it now. This class was given in December of 2010, and the lecture should be up on our YouTube channel. If not, I don't know if this particular exact lecture was, but there's a series on Tantra Yoga on YouTube. You can find that in the playlist. And in that, Nima goes into great detail about Tantra Yoga being the science that both looms, Tantra being the yoga that looms together the yogas, as well as the science that brings forth the ancient teachings. So we're going to look through this, and then we'll go into there's one more that I want, one more set of notes after this one, and then we'll go into the transcript. But this one and the next set of notes actually talk about Kundalini, so I want to briefly talk about it. And then as we move into the transcript, goes into greater detail about the Nadic system. And then so we'll follow along with the transcript. Tantra Yoga, this is the science of bringing forth the ancient teachings of Shiva and Shakti under a greater light of inspection. It is the protected knowledge of Shiva, all potential life energies fixed in place or in a static state, and Shakti, the active or movement of life energies involving and evolving, free to be viewed from in great detail. Now, Kundalini power, remember the Kundalini is after it's going to be described here. a dormant state of subtle power located at the base of the spine chakra, where pressures bound this energy and allow it to be used as a vehicle of consciousness for the soul. Excuse me 1 minute. The whole state of Shakti consciousness being moved into an active state by the soul to involve itself through the realms of active consciousness. All right, so in these, what we're discussing here is in more detail the process we just talked about earlier, with the Shakti energy being brought down to Sushumna and then bring to the point of equilibrium at the Muladhara chakra. So this just goes into a bit more detail about what we just read on page 1 of the notes from the 101 class series. Number 2, the point of equilibrium in an involved state of consciousness, the Muladhara chakra, or the base of spine chakra. The effects of the Muladhara chakra consciousness forces the Shakti consciousness under the control of the soul into a 3.5 Shakti configuration, which manifests the consciousness of Kundalini power. The 3.5 Shakti configuration that manifests Kundalini places the Shakti consciousness into a dormant state of consciousness. This dormant state of Kundalini is a sleep state of awareness where more than 95% of its capacity lies dormant in a deep state of sleep. So in other words, and on average, no more than 5% is Kundalini. Sorry, no more than 5% of Kundalini is active in our everyday, day-to-day lives. And as we employ practices of pranayama and spiritual development, we activate and push more and more of that Kundalini through our nadis, through our aura, until the point where we're able to fully activate and control the total power of Kundalini. The specific location of the Muladhara makes it possible for the Shakti power to move into a dormant state of Kundalini. On this level of consciousness, the Muladhara level, the higher forces of Shakti power are dormant and barely active. It is suppressed, but it is always there, ready to reveal its power under the right conditions. Right? In another lecture, Nimai goes into detail, and I actually found the notes for it again as I was preparing for this class. What those conditions are, and part of the process for the activation and the raising of Kundalini. And that's also included in the study on Tantra Yoga. So if you go back to that lecture series, you'll see where I believe he touches on it, and then in subsequent lectures goes into more detail where the actual notes were given on the rise of Kundalini. The Muladhara is where the now awareness becomes the threefold power of time, kala, which is past, present, and future, in the dormant state of basic conscious awareness. So now, meaning the ever present and always now, but that awareness is broken up into the power of time, kala, which is what referred to as past, present, and future. The pressures of the Muladhara pushes the 3.5 Shakti configuration to a position where it blocks the door of Sushumna, which is the line of Brahma, where the power of Shakti moves from Shiva down through Sushumna and all the levels of consciousness. Kundalini becomes the vehicle of consciousness for the soul, or which is the eye of man. which operates as the body of involved awareness for the spirit, which is the I am of man. The manifestation of the power of Kundalini splits the Shakti power into two opposite powers, but equally balanced in its motion of action. Okay, and this is here we're talking about the Ida. What was referring here to the Ida and Pingala, I think. The limited conscious awareness brings about a state of tamas, dark, inert and void of enlightenment, and rajas, passion and activity, which moves man's basic consciousness away from a more sattvic purity state. It's being referred to here, the gunas. The split of consciousness that's brought about creates a huge desire factor that sends the divided Shakti into motion as a passive power and a vital power. The dormant state of Kundalini consciousness releases a sound vibration. This sound vibration pushes the basic consciousness on several realms of existence. This sound vibration connects at least 5 chakras to the gross physical planes of existence and the several lower subtle realms of existence. The sound vibrations radiates through the passive Ida nadis and the vital Pingala nadis, flow of divided Shakti power that seeks a place to reunite itself. The extension of the nadis from the Muladhara chakra to the Ajna chakra and all the essential sensory organs. Was there anything you wanted to add or correct there, Imaya?
No, I think it's self-explanatory if you read it in detail. A lot more could be said. You notice that it said 5 and not 6 or 7.
Yes, notice that. I was going to ask about that.
And then you notice that over 95% goes dormant.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems as though it follows the pattern of the solar system. And most things in nature, where you have a nucleus, and that nucleus holds most of the power and only let out a small portion of the power.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it breaks things up into a female energy and a male energy, or a mental energy and a vital energy. So it's always a pattern of nature that you can always see on the lower levels and the higher levels.
And the same way that the sun releases a sound vibration.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You have this fission of power. And if the sun was to give out more power than a small percentage, then we couldn't exist on the physical level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have to distance ourselves. And the sun gives out a sound. That sound creates what the scientists call a plasma.
Mm-hmm.
And the mystics call it Taba or Tabic rays.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we live in that blanket of this solar plasma or
Mm-hmm.
ways, and that's how we have our existence. The Bible says we live and move and have our being, within the body of God. And for us on this small level, the sun is an aspect of God that we live and move in. Just like the earth is an aspect of God that we live and move in too, because we live with the atmosphere of the earth. And just like the consciousness of your body is, we are living within the realms of the auric body of the soul and the spirit, which is another God to us. So it always follows a pattern.
Mm-hmm. Okay, James, is your question referring to Genesis in the Bible? This is a question about verses in the Bible. This question reads, in the beginning, the power, Elohim, filled up and or shaped the skies and the land, according to my take on Genesis in Hebrew. And the part where it says the Spirit of God hovered is in the feminine tense. Is that perhaps Shakti?
Here, the mystics believe that Shakti is, well, if you read my teachings and which I translate from the ancient teachings, they speak as though Shakti is male and female and male. And when it hits, when it's brought down to the Muladhara, which is the root chakra in the auric body of man or human, it splits, and it splits, and it has male and female, which is Pingala and Ida. And the Pingala represents the vital or male energy, and Ida represents the mental energy. And Shushuna represents both energies in perfect unison, back to its original source. In the Bible, in the Holy Bible, they talk about Adam, and the first Adam was male and female, and then a higher power than Adam took a part of Adam and split it up. So Adam was Shakti in full consciousness, and it was split up, and now you have Adam and Eve. So, and then the tree represents the spinal column of the wind was just showing earlier, how they loop back to each other, trying to get back to their home. So the Bible is written in parables, and if you go through there, you can see a lot of this information, but it's spoke to in symbols. And Shakti Kundalini is a female energy. It represents a female energy. The source where the Shushuna, the source where Shushuna came from, represents a male energy in the universe. So, but in the auric body, and from the perspective of what we're talking about, is is more than a male energy. It's male, female, female, male. If you can understand that. In other words, it is endless power. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone you have any additional questions, feel free to post them in the chat and I'll get to them as we go through. So it's continuing on. Let's go number 4, nada, the 4 aspects of sound. This nada power is a sound vibration made by 2 main sources within the higher etheric bodies and several secondary sources within the lower etheric bodies. The dormant state of Kundalini releases a sound vibration that moves up the causal etheric structure and modifies itself 4 times in order to lock man's consciousness on the manifested, subtle, and gross planes of existence. The other primal sound is the original sound that vibrates from the absolute, God, via the bindu, or the spiritual germ of man, the divine spark of God, or spirit, that vibrates as a point of consciousness in every chakra along the spine and within the subtle structure of the body, where in quotes are 108 chakras. The secondary sound vibrations are the bija of the chakras and nadis. In previous lectures, Mike goes into great detail about the 4 states of sound, 4 aspects of sound, the nadas, as well as the nada bodies or sound bodies, and the actual anatomy of the chakras, where more information is given about the bindu, as well as the bijas of the petals and so forth. The chakra system and the etheric bodies. The chakra system of man is built on and around the realms of existence or levels of consciousness that we are presently experiencing. The chakra system is not a manifested instrument of the framework that life's creation is manifested within. The chakra system is actually the vortex portal for the bindu, the spiritual germ, which is an endless potential of power for all life. It is the point of consciousness that gives life to all things and the point of all knowledge space for the soul. The etheric body represents the highest subtle body that man works from. This level of the etheric body expresses the highest frequencies of mind energies and vital energies, and gives formation to mental bodies, pranic bodies, astral bodies, and eventually the physical body. So in the previous open discussion, I had mentioned that we were going to pull from several chapters within the first published text of Cindy Davis, The Ancient Language of the Soul, because in that text, I think 6, 7, 8, and 9, it goes into great detail in talking about the chakras and the chakra system. I decided that we won't have time to go back into those chapters, but you can pick up a copy of the text. It's on Amazon. You can go to a mysticknowledge.org website, and there's a link dedicated directly to the book with other links directing you to where you can pick up a copy of the text, and you can go back to the study sessions playlist, where I actually read through the entire text of the book in series of videos. The mental bodies is the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind that man operates from on the various planes of existence. We'll get into more of the bodies later as we go through the transcript. The pranic bodies is the power source of all Maya Shakti, vehicles of expression, and the astral bodies, the subtle bodies used to exist on the various lower planes of existence, and then the physical body. This is the gross physical vehicle of expression that we operate from in basic state of self-consciousness. Okay, so that's a brief look at Science of Tantra Yoga. Next, I wanted to go into this document, which this is a question that was asked several times, actually, in previous lectures. And I put together a write-up specifically answering this question in detail. And the question was how the Kundalini energy is generated in our body, and is it extracted from the prana, ether, or so on. So this is a question, I remember this question being asked a couple of times. And so I found this in the notes, where it goes into detail about it, giving a bit more information about Kundalini, but also explaining it in a very easy to digest and understand way for us. And then after this one, we'll go back into the transcript. Oops. Sorry, I didn't have. Okay, can you guys see it now? How the Kundalini energy is generated in our body. It is extracted from the prana or ether. Okay. Just make sure. Okay, good. Kundalini is the life force of the physical body and the subtle bodies. You cannot blink an eye, move a finger, walk, run, or even think without the power of Kundalini. Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness for the soul of man. It is the vital and mental life forces within the body that manifests basic and higher consciousness. Okay. Kundalini is that Shakti power that was pushed down through the Brahmic line of consciousness, Nadi, by the soul, and when it reached the equilibrium point of basic consciousness at the base of the spine chakra, it moved into this 3.5 energy configuration called the serpent power or Kundalini. At this point, the Kundalini power is in a dormant state. In fact, the word Kundalini actually indicates that this serpent power is asleep. Over 90% of the power of Kundalini is dormant. It is said that the power of Kundalini is released in the body by a sound vibration radiating from this dormant Kundalini. The sound vibration is said to be a celestial mantra that the soul sings in order to produce basic consciousness and hold basic consciousness in a subtle gross state of being and a physical gross state of being. The sound vibrations released by the dormant state of Kundalini itself while in this sleep state creates a flow of energies called the nadis. Okay, so keep that in mind as we transition into a discussion of the nadis. The nadi flow of energies is positive charged subtle energies that travel on the right side of the body and negative charge energies that travel on the left side of the body. The nadic flow of energies intersects at each major chakra along the spine column as it ascends, connecting man's consciousness to the various realms of existence through the chakra system. Okay. This sound vibration pushes the power of Kundalini through the subtle bodies and the physical body via the nadis, which totals 242,000 nadi pathways. In the same way as Nima was talking again, it's repetition of the process in nature as the the sun releases its solar plasmic waves, and this energy travels throughout the solar system through channels of solar plasmic energy. It's the same thing within the auric structure within the bodies. This sound vibration carries the Kundalini consciousness throughout all the bodies, manifesting itself in many forms and aspects, such as the vital life force, the mental life force, the vital life fluids, male and female sex fluids, ojas, subtle sex energies of the brain, the physical spinal fluid, etc. When we learn to control this power of Kundalini, we become conscious gods among man. The above paragraph gives a brief explanation of Kundalini origin. Kundalini is your soul's vehicle of consciousness that is used to gain experience through cycles of life, through various vehicles of expression, such as the auric body, mental bodies, pranic bodies, etheric bodies, astral bodies, and the physical bodies throughout the cycles of reincarnation. Now, the Kundalini is trapped in your auric structure. Now, the Kundalini trapped in your auric structure will power these bodies of consciousness for eons. The vehicle of expressions use the power of Kundalini as conscious will or karmic pressure and the universal supply of prana and mind in order to sustain them in their cycles of reincarnation. In basic man, the Kundalini is dormant, and the chakras are working with probably less than 3% of the energy available to it. In the development of the chakras, we should work on purifying the body and mind first. Then the purification of the nadi pathways second. Then the activation of the chakras third through mantra, pranayama, concentration, contemplation, and meditation, all aimed at awakening up the Kundalini consciousness. But at no time should we practice concentrating on the solar plexus chakra or any chakra without the aid of a qualified teacher or proven instructor and without specific instructions. In fact, in most proven meditative practices from qualified teachers, they instruct the student not to concentrate directly on the chakras, but several inches away from the chakras, and you are given a mala or yantra to visualize outside of that chakra. For example, when we're taught the practice of the presence and the preparatory practice, we are taught to bring it to the heart center, 6 inches in front of the breastbone, not directly on the heart chakra. No one should concentrate directly on any chakra. This is very dangerous and can result in mental illness and physiological disease. As I've been teaching on this subject for 30 years or more and have seen many people destroy their lives by using the wrong chakra development practices. Okay. No questions? So if you're concerned or curious about what some of these proper practices are, you can go back through our lectures, and Nehemiah gives both many practices, particularly in the Mystic Practices series, or throughout the lectures, many practices, concentrative and contemplative practices are given, as well as practices are recommended. Like the Science of Breath text, for example, is recommended. And actually, you can find it and the practices that they're recommended on our mysticknowledge.org website. as well as contact your higher self through yoga. A text authored by Dr. George King, made available through your society with several pranayama and visualization practices that you can use to safely and effectively develop yourself. Okay. Is there anything you wanted to add, Nehemiah, before I switch over? No? Okay.
No, not really. I mean, I know a lot of people question when I say 242. Go back up to, I say 242,000.
Okay, let me go back to that.
Did I mention that in there?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. And that move away from the traditional teachings that most people, but a lot of people don't read the ancient teachings, because some of the ancient teachings say that is 720,000 Nadi pathways. But Dr. George King mentioned that it was 242, and I always pay attention to those little tiny details, because a lot of times he gave us stuff that we totally did not understand for years later. But if you just do a simple mathematics, I don't know if you can bring up a calculator. I can show you something. This will be a treat for everybody today.
Okay, let me
bring it up. If anybody is a real scientist, they'll understand this.
Okay, can you see the calculator?
Yeah, you can see it. I can see it. You can take 200 and I don't know if everybody else can see it, but you can take 242,000. Divide that by 72,000. Should be 3. Yeah, that's it. Now, in the mystic teachings, they tell us that there's 3 branches of natis. Right? There's 3 major branches of natis, right?
Right.
You know what those branches are?
Not the Ida Pingala Sushumna?
Yes. So, and then there's 360 what?
Realms of the I'm sorry, topic rays.
Topic rays. And then you have one commando, which is who? 1 point, really.
1 point, the Christ Command Center.
Huh?
The command center, you said?
Yeah, the soul.
The soul.
Working through where? You said it earlier.
Through the Christ Center.
The Christ Center. So if we were to write this up, it'll be 361.1. And the 1 will be almost infinite, because why? Because it's an endless stream of energy and manipulation. So you have, when they, in the ancient teachings, when they gave us, when they described the crown center, instead of assigning an energy there, or even Pacific sound, they gave the sound of AUM, and they gave the endless, they say all Tavic rays. What do we know about the Tavic rays, or all the Tavas? that the Tavas is a combination of all energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so therefore you have the soul sitting in the position of the Christ center, which is the command center, or Arjuna chakra.
Mm-hmm.
They are pulling from this endless source of power from the crown. See, so it make pure sense
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that Shushana, Ida, and Pangala, they mirror each other. And when they and then you have the rays that they pull from the Maha Bindus, which is the sun and the planets,
Mm-hmm.
comes to Earth on the 360-degree angle, which they pull into the body through the chakras. And they manipulate this energy. The soul manipulates this energy in order to push us through life.
Mm.
So.
And that's reflected here in the 3.36, one of the repeating ones.
Yeah, it's reflected in the numerology of it.
Numerology, yeah, right.
Because a lot of the masters talk about 72,000 natis, but then Dr. King talked about 242,000 natis.
Mm-hmm. Was that because Dr. King was counting all the branches as well? Well, in this 700,000, that's all the branches as well.
Yeah. Well, he gave the operation of it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear, right?
Right. Yeah, it's clear now when you can do this. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? It says, this explains why hippies are so messed up. They've been focusing on the wrong technique, focusing on so-called balancing your chakras. By focusing on one chakra at a time, that's a hippie idea. And so is free lust and all of that foolishness. I guess that's James' comment. Okay. All right, so now dive into, go back into the transcript. Now see something. Zoom won't allow me to. Yeah. It won't allow me to share two things at the same time, but let me see if I can get it to work. So I want to have the transcript on one side and the illustration on the other.
Doesn't allow split screen?
Well, it won't allow me to have to share two documents at the same time, but I'm trying to see if I can do it a different way. Okay, see if I can do it this way. Let's share the screen. All right, so can you guys see both documents?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so last time we finished up the first almost 3 minutes, 250 seconds of transcript. And today we're gonna go into, let's pick up here at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And again, these timestamps correspond to the video itself. So if you go to 2 minutes and 50 seconds, this is where the dialogue picks up, but then again at 4:20 and so on, 5:22. So on the transcript says, this Shakti power turns into this thing called Kundalini. All right, so he's referring to the Shakti power. It's pushed down to the base here. Sorry, down here, which is a vehicle of consciousness for the soul. Then this Kundalini takes the Shakti power that it has wrapped up in a 3.5 knot, what we call a 3.5 knot, and which is Kundalini, and it splits the Shakti power into a flow of energy. That flow of energy that it splits up into its 2 flows of energy, which is called Ida and Pingala nadis. You have an Ida nadis and the Pingala nadis. This Ida and Pingala nadis creates a matrix throughout the auric body called the nadis. And this matrix is 242,000 pathways of nadis. These 242,000 pathways of nadis actually enter and exit all the chakras, all the major chakras. Okay, so here he was following along on this diagram, talked about Sushumna, Brahmic line of force, Kundalini, and then here at 3 are at the nadis. So this is where we've reached. Now let me go into a bit further a discussion of the nadis. And we won't get to cover everything I have for today because we're almost at 1.5 hours into today's lecture. But I did want to cover a bit more in detail the nadis. So let me pull this up. This document is a bit of a long one, so it will probably take us out the rest of today's session. But it was this one and another that I wanted us to take a look at. And in the second one, there's actual, it might take some illustration from one of the ancient teachings, which actually shows or illustrates many of the nadis going in and out of the chakra systems. But we'll get to that one at the end. But hopefully I can get through this first document here, and then move on to the second. And that should take us out for the rest of that should finish up today's session. So the nadi system, a system of sound vibration that holds consciousness in place. Let me just make sure everybody can see this. Okay, good, yes. Right. The soul pulls down a flow of cosmic energy, Shakti, and connects a piece of its conscious awareness to it, and pushes it down through the field of Sushumna with tremendous karmic pressures upon it. This Shakti power intermingles with the soul's consciousness and moves from the Sahasrara, the crown chakra, to the Muladhara chakra, the base chakra, under direct karmic pressures. This movement of consciousness gains experience as it falls through Sushumna from one realm of consciousness, major chakras, to the next, with each realm of consciousness expressing a whole world of existence. As the Shakti consciousness of the soul falls from the crown center to the lower chakras, it experiences the infinite worlds of each chakra. The Shakti consciousness of the soul experiences the alternate celestial sounds of the Absolute, manifesting itself through each level or realm of the chakras. This wave of the Shakti consciousness, bound by the will of the soul, implants these experiences within the configuration of the Shakti consciousness of the soul. Wait, I just lost my space. The consciousness bound by the will of the soul implants these experiences within the configuration of the Shakti consciousness of the soul, and the soul moves on with the potential of the power it has experienced. Not expressing the potential of this, the Shakti consciousness of the soul moves down within the field of the Brahmic line of force, Sushumna, following the original will of the soul. With each chakra that is lower than the crown chakra, a greater pressure of karma is experienced by Shakti consciousness of the soul as it pushes downward through Sushumna. When it reaches the Muladhara chakra realm of existence, it moves into a state of 3.5 energy configuration, dictated by karmic pressures upon it. The karmic pressures exerted here on the soul's Shakti consciousness pushes this expression of consciousness into a dormant state of expressed power called Kundalini. The Kundalini is a 3.5 energy Shakti configuration, which is a part of the soul's Shakti consciousness, placed in a dormant state of Kundalini in order to bring about a basic state of conscious existence. This 3.5 energy configuration of Kundalini consciousness positions itself in the right karmic position and under the right karmic pressure, where it blocks the passageway to Sushumna, not allowing the basic consciousness to enter into this pure Brahmic field of Sushumna without being in a pure and right state of karmic awareness. This Kundalini configuration of consciousness brings about a state of not whole Shakti power from a state of whole Shakti, which in turn brings into being a flux of power. This flux power is a separation of the Shakti power that flows in different directions and different vibrational states, is known as nadis. Description of the nadis. The nadi system, the nadi system is usually seen as man's subtler nervous system, or the etheric nervous system that is the subtle nerve ganglia behind the physical nervous system, which processes intelligent stimuli throughout the nervous system. This includes the brain, the spinal system, the nerve, and ganglia. In this presentation, I hope to present a fuller meaning of the nadi system and show the mystic science behind the nadi system. Earlier, we talked about the spirit and the soul manipulating this power called Shiva and Shakti with the power of nada, sonic vibrations, covered in class 1, the Metaphysics 101 series. This power is a neutral force that manifests itself as a sonic vibration that has the ability to manipulate positive power, Shiva, and the negative power, Shakti. This brings about the unique ability to create or modify this force called cosmic energy or prana. When the soul found itself manifested as basic consciousness within the dormant power of Kundalini lodged in the base chakra, it moved out in 2 directions as a flow of cosmic energies. It is then propelled by sonic vibrations that are released from the dormant state of Kundalini. One energy flow of consciousness moves forward as vital energies, and the other energy flow of consciousness moved forward as mental energies. The vital flow of energies is known as Pingala nadis, and the mental flow of energies is known as Ida nadis. These nadis are like thin sonic vibrational lines of forces that help to bring consciousness into being on several levels of existence. The nadis move from the base chakra to every other major chakra along the spinal column, manifesting an aspect of base consciousness on every level. On its way up, it created thousands of geometrical angles forming what is like a nadi matrix. And within the nadis are various frequencies of cosmic energies, or pranas. The rotational movement of the nadis seems to have created various frequencies of energy patterns. These energy patterns assist the soul in defining its points of consciousness called nadi knots or chakras. The nadi knots are the focal points that transform and transmute cosmic energies into thousands of aspects of mental thought forms and various frequencies of pranic forms. The nadi knots bring about a tremendous pressure on the universal supply of prana and the universal mind substance that surrounds us. These nadi knots draw the pranas within the nadi system, and then these nadis serve to slow down the pranas and mind substance to bring about a grosser manifestation of these energies. There are three major celestial forces of cosmic energies that has an influence on the nadi knots, or chakras, when producing etheric, mental, and astral bodies, which are called Rudra, Vishnu, and Brahma in Sanskrit terms. These modifications of the cosmic energies come from the earth, Rudra, the sun, Vishnu, and the moon, Brahma.
Now, look at that carefully. You see, Ruta is earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the base chakra
Mm-hmm.
and chakra. Vishnu is the sun, and that's the
solar plexus.
And then the Brahma is the moon, which is the mental energy. Now, so you can see the sun has a neutral energy. So when you go back and look at this again, you can look at it as Pingala, Shushuna, and Ida. You see?
Yeah. Pingala being Rudra.
Yeah.
Shushumna, Vishnu, and Ida, Brahma.
Yeah, because the solar plexus and the heart chakra regulates both energies, all three energies, Ida, Pingala, and Shushuna, in order to sustain life.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the solar plexus and the sex center is like the basic consciousness of man, which is pulling on the upper two, which is they pull on the solar plexus and they pull on the heart chakra in order to, as substance, in order to move. And then they use the mental energy, which is the Brahma or the moon, the throat chakra and the Christ chakra, in order to reason their way through life. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So everything ties in when you start looking at it. It just like the 242,000 nadis. Everything ties in.
So do planets with multiple moons, or do those moons perform the same or similar purpose?
We don't know. We don't know, but we I mean, we don't know that. I mean, I'm sure it must be following some type of divine law.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and think about it. I mean, the ancient people said thousands of years ago that the moon played an important part of Earth by because it regulated what they call it the elements of Earth,
Right.
and it would drop parts of elements down to the Earth at periodical times in order to control the waters, control the air, control the atmosphere, you know, and also it uses magnetic ability. I mean, they said that 1,000 years ago. The scientists came around and said, "Oh, this is true."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Scientists also told us said that you have more minerals and elements on the moon, and you know, in a rich composite state than what you do here on the Earth, or what they can find here on the Earth. Because I'm sure the Earth probably have just as much or more, but the Earth have not. The Earth has not decided to reveal that to mankind because
Right.
of mankind's own karma. But they found that it's rich on the moon, and the moon only make up 25% of the Earth mass. So, but and the ancient people told us that the moon is a living being and is an ancient being, and it came here to help the Mother Earth regulate the sacrifice that she made to take on such an ignorant race of people. You know, so it speaks volumes that she controls the mental state of man, or all creatures on Earth.
Right. Yes.
So I don't know if that's the same purpose on other planets.
Right.
Other planets, I'm sure they use the moon to manipulate energy, but the same thing that the moon is used for here, I doubt it. I mean, I wouldn't know, but because some planets have multiple moons, have dozens of moons, but they are I would look at it that they're manipulating multiple streams of energy on multiple realms of existence. Our moon takes care of the mental existence.
So say are there any questions? No. Okay. No more questions. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat and we'll answer those for you. All right, so continuing on in the ancient tantric teachings translated by Sir Arthur Avalon in his book, The Serpent Power, and Rama Prasad's book, Nature of Finer Forces, it describes the modification of tattvas as energy of modes of motion. They further describe these tattvas as tattvic rays that radiate modes of motion that has been modified by the sun, moon, and earth. Okay. The modification of these cosmic energies created certain signature patterns that brought about tremendous pressures on the cosmic energies and mind substance within the nadi matrices created by the nadi system. These pressures created by the nadi knots and nadi system slowed down the cosmic energies to allow the manifestation of the soul's of the soul's various tools of expression in order to manage its involutional journey and evolutionary journey. All right, you can get an example of this when you look at a circuit board, right? And how the flow of energy of electrons is controlled to produce certain results, right? Like on a motherboard of a computer, for example. The following is a brief explanation of the Nadi system and described from the mystic point of view. The Nadi system is a series of thin sonic tube-like vibrations that surrounds the manifested points of man's soul. These thin tubes act like sonic vibrations that make thousands of geometric patterns around these manifested points of the soul, which creates a magnetic web that draws on the all-pervasive cosmic energies and the universal mind substance that brings these mighty two forces into gross manifestation. The soul skillfully designed this Nadi system to build the house of this God presence that manifests within it, behind it, through it, and around it. Using the directives of spirit, the soul builds the first temple of God and brings into manifestation the consciousness of the soul. The nadis are thin lines of force created by the soul with sacred sonic vibrations that are derived from the creative word within all creation. Because the nadi system is a divine sonic vibration, its various frequency of sound is designed with sonic signatures to bring into being necessary tools of expression into manifestation for the soul. These sonic signatures can be described as karmic pressures that dictate the will of the absolute God. This is known as the 36 tattvas, or modification principles, which are sonic frequencies of the creative word that holds man in manifestation. The tattvas are invisible forces that the soul uses to direct, shape, and form the nadi system, to aid the soul in the journey through involution to evolution. These tattvic rays are described as 360 tattvic rays that are radiated from the sonic vibrations issued by the solar logos, the mighty sun, 365 days a year. And these 360 rays illuminate the earth in the form of fire, sun, and moon. These 360 rays are subdivided within the subtle bodies of man as follows. There are 118 tattvic fire rays, Agni, within the two lower major chakras, or nadi nuts. 106 tattvic rays, tattvic sun rays, Surya, within the third and fourth chakras, or nadi nuts. And 136 tattvic moon rays, Chandra, within the fifth and sixth chakras, or nadi nuts. And here I wanted to interject a diagram that illustrated this, but we'll save that for next time. The nadis and tattvic ray. Well, let me see if I have it here really quickly. No, we'll save it for next time. With the pressures exerted from the tattvic forces being placed on the nadis to define the energies of the chakra nuts, these pressures from the tattvas that direct, shape, and form the nadi system also create what is called a group of tattvic rays. And there are a group of tattvic rays within each nadi nut. These tattvic rays are subtle, cosmic, sensitive material with tremendous potential to shape, mold, and produce various qualities of cosmic energies, etheric matter, and gross matter. Each chakra located on the spinal column, or Sushumna, has a definite number of tattvic rays within its lotus that radiates various qualities which produce a tremendous power. The 6 chakras share 360 tattvic rays divided in an unequal number along the spinal vertebrae. Number one, the base of the spine, the Muladhara, has 56 tattvic rays. This group is called Bhuta, which means that which can become. The Bhuta is cosmic particles that has potential of all the other 5 tattvic ray groups within the chakras. Number two, the sex chakra has 62 tattvic rays. It is called Agni, which represents the power of fire. Number three, the solar plexus center has 52 tattvic rays. This group is called Apas, which represents the power of water. Number four, the heart center has 54 tattvic rays, which is called Vayu, which represents the power of air. The throat center has 72 tattvic rays. This group is named Akasha, which represents the power of ether. And number six, the Christ center has 64 tattvic rays. This group is called Manas, which represents the power, which represents the power of mind. If you are able to follow the line of the Shakti power thus far, you can see the tremendous subtle resources of cosmic energies, mind substances, and the tattvic matter available for the soul for it to contain and manage throughout the many levels of conscious states created by the involution of the manifested pure consciousness of the soul. The nadis being that direct result of the Shakti released from the unmanifested portion of the soul, Shiva and Shakti unmanifested. The nadis have this tremendous creative cosmic power flowing through it. And as the soul moves to involve itself and slow down this cosmic power, this cosmic creative power, it defines these nadi knots to redirect this cosmic energy and activate the tattvic matter that has been stored in the nadi knots as cosmic karmic signatures and specifications for holding manifestation in place. Before the nadi knot, where am I? Hold the nadi manifestation in place. The nadi knots chakras are vortex centers of tremendous cosmic energies, mind substance, and tattvic rays. Vibrational modification rays from the solar logos with cosmic specifications that are issued by the soul to manipulate, build, and sustain the subtle and gross manifestation. As stated in the last paragraph, each chakra has a specific number of tattvic rays, which is used and acts as a balancing mechanism for the solar logos connection to human existence. Okay. Before going on, let me introduce one more point that may help to connect the dots to understanding this ancient metaphysical science. The power of Shakti is activated by the absolute God, releasing a cosmic vibration, cosmic sound, which brings about perpetual motion. This continued motion serves to subdivide the Shakti power through an involutional process over and over again until it reaches a point of equilibrium, the point of embodied consciousness. The equilibrium comes about when the Shakti power coils itself back around the Shiva at the base of the spine. The point of evolution begins when it starts to uncoil itself and moves back toward the absolute as Shiva and Shakti in a state of complete equilibrium. This is an evolutionary process, or evolutional process, which also is activated by this cosmic vibration and is kept in manifestation by perpetual motion. This motion created an evolutional process. This motion created in the evolutionary process is also brought about by a sonic vibration being released by the celestial beings within our solar system, galaxies, and etc. Nima, I remember you saying in the past that, I'm paraphrasing what you said from memory, that this process described here, this involutional process described here, is dictated by the soul for that respective life stream, right? So even though in our discussion we're talking about the metaphysical makeup of man, it's talking about how, in our current state, the Shakti being pushed down to the Muladhara, and at that point, consciousness at man's level evolution is expressed. But for animals, minerals, galaxies, planets, whatever, that particular soul decided that its equilibrium point would be different for each life stream. Is that correct?
Right.
Right. Okay. So, guys, as we're in our discussions, we're focusing on the mystic constitution of man. Nima mentioned as earlier in today's class that it is the same pattern repeats itself throughout all of creation. That from a galaxy to a solar system to a planet to a human being like ourselves to an animal to plants, minerals, insects, and so on and so forth. The same process throughout all of nature. And all right, I'm getting some notifications on mine. Is the audio okay? Is there a lot of background noise? I'm getting some notifications on my end.
It's just all right. It's just storming here. That's all.
Yeah, here too. Okay. All right. Okay, I'll stop here and pick up next time. There's about a few more pages left. Within the nadi system, there are 3 types of nadis: Ida, the Pingala, and the Shushna nadi. There are 14 named nadis, and the above mentioned nadis are the chief major nadis that sets and defines the type of nadis. The Ida nadis are the negative vibrational force within the nadis, and the Pingala nadis is the positive vibrational force within the nadis. And the Sushumna nadi is the neutral vibrational force within the nadi system, where both Ida and Pingala forces travel together. These 3 types of nadis create a web system that the nadis develop what is called a nadi nuts, which are points of consciousness that has a magnetic effect on the environment, thereby allowing the soul to operate on several levels of consciousness or states of existence at one and the same time, as it makes its journey through involution to evolution. I will go in detail later in this text on the nature and function of the nadis. Okay, so next time we'll get into the nadis and the Granti nuts and actually start naming some of the 14 major nadis. And we'll also take a look at this handout, which is, I think, an excerpt from another group of handouts where we actually talk about some more nadis, as well as how the pranas interact and travel through this nadi matrix. And then we'll take a look at this. There's another handout where Nimai takes the same illustration, but actually makes it larger and translates some of these Sanskrit names that are written here and helps us to better understand it. So I'll cue that up for next time as well. But that is all we have the time to cover today. And just like last time, the first 2 minutes of lecture encompassed almost 2 hours of discussion. And same time again, these next 2 minutes of lecture encompass another entire discussion session. And we're not even finished with this because we're still going to cover more of the nadis. And then from there, we move into a deeper discussion of the chakras and the aura and the auric bodies. But again, remember, this Metaphysics 101 series was just a brief survey, just a touching of the tip of the iceberg of the mystic constitution of man. But it is this science, mystic constitution of man, which forms the methodology and the body of the teachings, which is given through the International Mystic Knowledge Center and taught to us through by Nehemiah Davis. So everything always comes back to the mystic constitution of man. And so as I will be continuing to present this information, I will, at least for myself, I will mostly focus on the mystic constitution, helping to establish this foundation, both for myself and for all of you, our fellow students. And so in the future, whenever you pick up any material or advance in your studies, you will know, you will have this foundation to help you grow and further advance. All right, so before we close out today's session, are there any final questions or any final comments, Nehemiah, you want to add?
No, I think it's pretty explanatory here today.
Okay. So I know we covered quite a bit today.
I could, if you let me know ahead of time, I could give you most of the most recent diagrams on this stuff as well.
Okay. Let's see if there's any questions. All right, so if there's no questions, then let's close today's session. Show windows. There we go. Let's close today's session with reciting the New Lord's Prayer. And as you can see here, I had several handouts queued up. We just didn't have time to go into those today. That's all right. Excuse me. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lift it into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so, receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attendance and participation. Do go back and review the Metaphysics 101, both class 1 and 2 videos. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to either hold them until next time or email them to us at Mystic Knowledge Center, all one word, at Gmail. Remember, next time we will pick up our brief study of the Nadi system, and then we'll move into deeper discussion of the chakras and the aura. And for those of you trying to follow along, we are now at the 4-minute and 20-second mark in the class 2 of the Metaphysics 101 series. And we'll probably try and cover a couple more minutes in the lecture, but I don't think we will exceed more than 15 to 16 minutes of lecture, because you can see a couple of minutes can take up, and 2 or 3 open discussion sessions. But thank you again for your attendance, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful week.